Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Getting your kids to and from school safely and on time is our number one priority. We know that the first few weeks of school has had its share of transportation challenges, but we're working hard to improve things. We're always looking at the data and listening to feedback from families, teachers, and
Testing 1 2.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is a test. 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Good evening to our St. Louis Public School Board of Education and to our St. Louis Public School community. Thank you for joining our September board meeting. Please be reminded that decorum will be observed. It is asked that no one interrupts or blurts out during any portion of the proceedings, especially while we are conducting business for our children. Govern yourselves accordingly. Now, a brief word from Colonel Davis.
Good evening. For those of you who are sitting in a listening audience, your exits are behind you. Door 2 would be your exit. For the seated board, your exits are behind you also, and you will exit out of door 1. Thank you.
Mr. Hikes,
Present.
Ms. Weiss,
Here.
Ms. Hubbard,
Here.
Ms. Vowell,
Here.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Davis, Ms. Cousins.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Can we stand for the pledge of allegiance, please?
Allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening once again. I want to recognize our parent university. Our first parent university session of the year focused on students' well-being was a huge success. Thank you to the 125 attendees that joined. Parents walked away with practical skills, knowledge, and resources to become active participants in their children's education. We're so grateful for everyone who came out and made our biggest event yet. Remember, Parent University is held on the first Thursday of every month, culminating in a special graduation culminating in a special graduation event in May. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity to support our children's success. For more information about SLPS Parent University Program, please visit www.slps.org/parentu. Thank you to our staff and community ambassadors who volunteered and support our students in their local communities during the first 2 weeks of school, and to our family community specialists who made several thousand phone calls to remind parents of the first day of school. I want to also recognize Alderwoman of the 13th Ward, Pam Boyd, Alderwoman Sanye of the 7th Ward, whose ward we happen to be in now, as well as State Representative Kimberly Ann Collins of the 77th District. They both jumped in and assist. One of the biggest challenges that we were hearing when we were having to do a lot of the rerouting was ensuring that the bus routes or the pickup locations were safe. There were a lot of overgrown trees, weeds that turned into trees, lots that were vacant, properties that needed to be boarded up. These two older people actually took action and ensured around the schools, within the walking zones that they were in, that those areas were clean. And that really made the parents as well as our safety officers knew that those were safe routes for our children to be able to go in. We also had Alderwoman Sanye and State Representative Kimberly Collins that actually came and took part and volunteered in being a part of the safety, was adopt the stop. And they actually came out on that Saturday and did the volunteer hours to do what was needed. And they participated on the first 2 days. So I did want to make sure we recognize them. But I would like to ask that the family community specialists and all the ambassadors please stand. We have certificates here for you. If you are present, Mr. Robert LaPlante. Joanne Cameron. Am I saying that correct? Corman, Ronald Turner, and Tanisa Fowler. We have to recognize the safety officers. Miss Misty Doby. Rose Best. Did I say that right? Quentin Stedman. Danny Brookins. Terrence Harvey. Christopher Whitaker. And Crystal Watson. I'm sorry, one more, Lakeisha Robinson. They're coming. No. We're steady going. This is how many people volunteered and really supported us. You think we forgot about you all because you know we would be lost without you. To the principals that were right there always. Leanne White. Belinda Quimby. Are they here? They're here. That's a good. What's this? This safety school. Healthy schools. I'm sorry. She's going to do that one. I'm sorry. I moved too fast. My apologies. Thank you all. To be honest, I'm not quite sure why their names aren't on here because they continue to be steadfast soldiers for this. The adopt a stop is very important. Everything that the safety officers have done is extremely important. But I know I've been able to witness Gloria Nolan has really worked diligently in making sure she's trying to answer as many calls, working and standing strong, trying to respond to the parents the best that she can. I thought I saw her hide something. Miss Gloria Nola, can you please stand up? I want to make sure people understand and know she is an employee of SLPS, but she is passionate, just like everyone else, but she goes out of her way, is really committed to ensuring that we are doing the best that we can, and she holds us all accountable when we need to be held accountable. So thank you, Gloria Nolan. Dr. Borsche.
Thank you, President Cousins, members of the board, and to our audience. Tonight, the spirit of excellence beams brightly on 30 St. Louis Public Schools, honored as some of America's healthiest schools for the 2024 by the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. This prestigious award celebrates their exceptional dedication to the health and well-being of our students, staff, and families. A special spotlight shines on 5 outstanding schools: Ames Visual and Performing Arts Elementary, Humboldt Academy of Higher Learning, Malamphy Investigative Center, Oak Hill Elementary, and Patrick Henry Downtown Academy, who've achieved the highest all-star distinction, excelling in all 9 areas. We applaud the 25 additional St. Louis Public Schools recognized for their outstanding efforts in creating healthier environments. These awards highlight the pivotal role schools play in building healthy communities, as well as underscores St. Louis Public Schools' commitment to advancing equitable initiatives across the district. Congratulations to all 30 schools for this remarkable achievement. Your dedication to creating environments where everyone can thrive is an inspiration to all. And let's give a special round of applause to the principal for these all-star schools who are here tonight. Your leadership makes it a very special day, and to our leader, Ms. Leanne White. So when I call your name, Ms. Leanne White, Principal Quimby, Principal Durbin, Oak Hill, Dr. Curry, Dr. Casper, and Principal Javita Parks.
Congratulations once again, principals. Dr. Borche. Your presentation.
Okay, we'll have a presentation from Mr. Lorenzo Boyd, our defeasance presentation. Thank you. So I would ask that all board members sit in the front so that we can see the presentation.
Okay.
Good evening to the Board of Education. As mentioned, my name is Lorenzo Boyd with Stiefel in investment banking. So what I'm here to speak to you today is about the possible defeasance or payoff of some of this district's outstanding general obligation bonds. So I see some of you have the booklet in front of you. If you can't see the actual slideshow, what you can do is kind of go along in the booklet that was provided to you. So the first page, and I'm sure that's probably hard to read if you don't have the booklet. What you'll see there is all the districts, the school district's outstanding general obligation bonds. So currently at the present moment, the district has approximately, four issues of general obligation bonds outstanding. You have your 2010 A's, which were your qualified school construction bonds. Those were originally issued in the principal amount of a little over 58 million. There's currently 47.6 million left outstanding. And you can see the maturities there of approximately 6.1, 6.25, 6.35, and 6.45%. The difference with those qualified school construction bonds, they have a tax credit. So really the overall interest rate that you're paying because you're receiving a government subsidy of 5.68% is about 0.5%. Then next you have your qualified zone academy bonds. You'll see there those were issued for 35 million. There are 35 million remaining. You see the respective interest rates there. Those are also subsidized by the federal government on a bi-yearly basis at 4.458%. So those are essentially almost interest free for the school district. Then you have your Series 2017 bonds. You'll see the respective interest rates there. They were issued in the original principal amount of 61.9 million. There's currently a little 41 million remaining. And then you have your last series of bonds, which were approved by the voters, 160 million that was approved by the voters. You'll see that we issued 135 million in April of 2023. There's approximately 135 million remaining. One of the things I do want to point out that was extremely, in the past, I've been working with the St. Louis Public Schools since 1996. The district received a underlying rating for the first time in 2023, and it was rated AA from Standard & Poor's. Right now, looking at all the school districts, there are approximately 526 school districts in the state of Missouri. There's approximately 172 that are rated by Standard & Poor's. That AA credit rating is in the top 15% of all school districts in terms of where they're rated by Standard & Poor's. So I think that was a great achievement right there. Yes. So as I mentioned, in 2023, when we go all the way back, I've been working with the school district since 1996 on all of its general obligation bonds. This is the first time in 2023 that they were rated or to receive an underlying rating from Standard & Poor's. The highest rating that you can receive is AAA, then it goes to AA plus, and then AA. So with this bond issue, in 2023, we went for the first time to Standard & Poor's. Out of the approximately 170 school districts that are rated by Standard & Poor's, this AA is rated in the top 15% of all school districts in the state of Missouri. The next page is just a quick summary of all your bonded indebtedness, whether it's the previous page showed only principal amount. I just want to give you guys a snapshot of what you're paying approximately each year in terms of principal and interest on all your outstanding bonds. This next page is the district's levy report. I'll kind of briefly touch on this. Going from left to right, you have several columns going from left to right. Your tax year, those years are a little bit different than your debt year. You set your tax rate in October of every year. For the debt, the next year, you'll see their AV, your assessed valuation. You'll see your growth in terms of your assessed valuation each year. That 62.11 cents is your tax rate. That's in your Fund 3. That's actually what you're levying each year to pay your outstanding general obligation bonds. That brings in approximately little over 31 million in revenue each year. We're using a collection rate of 97%, which is an average of the current and delinquent taxes each year. The district currently puts about 900,000 of additional revenue in its debt service fund. So you'll see the total revenue column. And then the next page is the aggregate debt service of all your 4 issues of bonds that we showed on the previous pages. So you're bringing in a little over $32 million. Your debt service is 29 million. So you're adding to your fund balance about 3.2 million next year. You'll see to the far right, the district's debt service levy is approximately over 100%. So that's what we're here to discuss today. So with this, to maintain under the state requirement of 100% in terms of the maximum allowed debt service fund balance of 100%, we're currently over 100%. The district has a unique opportunity to prepay some of its bonds. So what we're looking to do is take approximately $15 million from the district's debt service fund to bring them under the state 100% maximum threshold to keep the overall debt service tax rate constant. That's going to allow you to actually prepay 14,490,000 of general obligation bonds on April 1st of 2026. So with that, you're going to save approximately $383,000 of interest by prepaying those bonds to their call date on 4/1/2026. The next page is just a quick summary of the previous page showing after the defeasance. You'll see that after the defeasance, we're bringing the anticipated fund balance down to 73%, which is below the 100% threshold. So we're very pleased with that number right there. The next page is the anticipated timeline. Today being September 10th, we anticipate bringing this back to the Board of Education on October 8th at its next board meeting to get the documents approved by the Board of Education with the anticipated closing of 10/24. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions. Actually about 383,000 because there's a deduction that you take off. So about 383,000, which is almost 3%. So which is, say again. They said yes. He was asking what's the approximate savings to the taxpayers by doing this defeasance and paying off those bonds early. I told him approximately 383,000. Our benchmark for any savings opportunity that we have for any issuer, whether you're a school district, city, or fire district, is around 1.5%. So with this being about 3%, that 383,000, you're doubling the threshold that with the minimum threshold that the state sets. Thank you. I'll be back in front of you guys on October 8th. I thought I was going to get applause. Do I get applause? Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
As we move into our next set of presentations, I'd like to first of all thank Dr. Robinson, the principal here at AESM. Our students and staff are hosting our board meeting this evening and showcasing the PropS projects that have taken place here. As you can see from the work done here, Navigate has been hard at work and making sure our contractors are helping us keep the promises that we've made. Members of the board, tonight you're going to hear several presentations. When you hear the presentation about our data, which is coming up next, we recognize that we have a long way to go. Principals are working on updating their accountability plans. And at the end of this week, students would have completed their STAR assessment. Goal setting will happen with children, and it's going to be essential that we begin to review our curricular resources, We have to make sure that we are aligned with science of reading, with an emphasis on phonics, algebra being taught in the 8th grade, and a focus on dual enrollment, IB classes, and working our way up to having several AP classes throughout all high schools, not just some. Lastly, this year, students in grades K through 12 will be expected to participate in a STEM fair in December, which is intended to focus on all aspects of literacy, math, reasoning, and critical thinking. At this point, I would like to have our data presentation.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for the opportunity to present to the board. We'll go ahead and get started. We're going to look at some of our STAR data and some of our MAP data. As always, we start with our values. And again, I feel like I say the same thing every time I'm here, but data and assessment fall into the same areas. We value the highly effective educator and leaders, and we think that the data of assessment helps them guide their practices. And we have equitable and multiple sources of data, specifically in this presentation, our STAR data and our MAP data. We also feel from the assessment department that the assessment data and the assessments that we use feed into all of our goals, the third grade reading, third grade math, college and career readiness, and as we improve our academic achievement, it feeds right into that culture and climate of our schools. All right, we also have our portrait of a graduate, and assessment really plays into lots of these areas, but specifically as we use the data to improve or enhance, I should say, our curriculum, our teaching, then we are just all the more college and career ready. We also are creating critical thinkers, communicators, and increasing our competency in all areas. So just a quick overview of what we'll be looking at tonight, our STAR reading and math. We'll be looking at our MAP GLA, which stands for grade level assessment. That's our 3rd through 8th grade students. And tonight we'll be focusing on ELA and math, language arts and math. Then we'll look at our MAP EOC, and of course, and those are our high school students with algebra, biology, English, and government. And then 2 of the terms we're going to use this evening are cohort and historical. So when we talk about cohort, we're looking at the same group of students over a period of time. Historical, we're looking at the same assessment over time, different students each year. All right, so just a okay, so for STAR reading and math, I know that at a past presentation, we mentioned STAR reading and math. Just as a refresher, all of our students, kindergarten through 12th grade, participate in our STAR testing. It is a computer adaptive reading and math assessment, separate assessments, one for reading, one for math. And then we do participate in those 3 times a year, our fall, winter, and spring window. And as Dr. Borshade mentioned, our first window, the fall window, will wrap up this Friday, September 13th. And we'll be doing our data analysis and presenting that to Dr. Borshade when it's ready, and I'm sure she'll be sharing it. The reason why we do these tests, one, it does fulfill some requirement for DESE, but we also use it to chart our growth and our achievement of, our students' growth and achievement. It also identifies educational next steps for our teachers, and it gives us a little bit of an insight, a projection towards how they'll perform on those state assessments. All right, so jumping right into the data, the first set of data we'll look at is the cohort data. So again, this is the same students throughout a period of 3 years in this particular slide. So it's kind of odd to mention it backwards, but the farthest right column will be our spring of 2024 students. And then working backwards, it was them in 4th grade and then them in 3rd grade. So they're 2 years prior. So I hope I said that in a way that you followed me. So on the left side of the screen, we have reading. The right side of the screen, we have math. And this is showing the projection that STAR gives us on how the students will perform on our MAP grade level test. So those 5th graders, the top 2 tiers are our proficient and advanced. And you can see in reading over the last 3 years, they did have a slight increase in those top 2 tiers, gaining about 2%, a little over 2% of our students projected in those top 2 tiers, as well as our math students. So as they grew from 3rd, 4th, and 5th, increasing those top 2 tiers. All right, our next cohort would be our spring of 24 eighth graders. So you'll see again their math and reading scores. From left to right, it would be third grade, then them as fourth grade, then them as fifth grade. And you can see those reading projections, they really did increase those top two levels of proficient and advanced. And then the math, they really did increase those top two projection levels as well. I just realized from here that you can hardly see that blue at the top. Next presentation, I'll make it darker. All right. Our 11th grade cohort. So again, reading on left, math on the right. It would be following the students from 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade. So you can see that we've had increases in those projections throughout the 3 years. So now we're going to switch over to our MAP test, the Missouri Assessment Program, and we'll start with our grade level again, our 3rd through 8th grade students. And we are, again, just focusing on the English, the ELA portion, and the math. We've shared this slide before, but just as a reminder, when the students take the MAP assessment, they are given they earn a scale score. And that scale score then puts them into a performance level. So you can see the top chart is ELA, the bottom chart is math, and specific to each grade level, there's a different range that puts them in each of those performance level of below basic, basic, proficient, and advanced. And that's what drives a lot of the calculations and the next levels of data. So sticking with cohort data, we have the English language arts and the math in our MAP grade level. And you can see for the last 3 years that there has been a slight increase in the advanced and proficient portion of the ELA. And in the math, we've actually increased those top 2 tiers at about 4% of our students. In our 8th grade cohort, again, this would be following them 6th, 7th, and 8th. You can see that in the English language arts, we've increased about 2.7% of our students in those top 2 tiers. And in our math, we have remained consistent. All right, switching over to our EOC, and of course, for our high school students, we assess them in Algebra 1, English 2, Biology, and Government. There's another chart for the achievement levels. Again, they receive scale scores, puts them into the same 4 categories below basic, basic, proficient, and advanced. And those scale scores drive other calculations. Instead of cohort data, we're now looking at historical. And the reason we're looking at historical is the end of course is only taken one time at that completion of your course. So the same group of students wouldn't take the Algebra 1 more than one time. So we look at Algebra 1 over the years. So hopefully that makes sense. So this time, since we are looking at the same test, we can also look at how our scale score average compares year to year. So first on the left side for Algebra 1, you can see that there's been a little bit of fluctuation from year to year in the last 3 years, but we've pretty much remained consistent. You can see on the right side then with the scale score average, we do have this color coded. So the average scale score where you see a red bar means that that average scale score would put us in the below basic area, where the yellow would put us in the basic area. The green line across at 400 is the scale score in high school for all 4 assessments. That would be the proficiency level. So you can see that we're approaching that level. I just wanted to give it kind of a framework, a reference point, so that you didn't have to go back to your chart. You'd see where that proficiency level was. So we'll look at the same for biology. And biology, we have remained consistent across the years, both with our scale score and our percentage of students scoring in those top proficient and advanced. The next content area is English 2. You can see that we have had some consistency across the years, but compared to the other content areas, we have a much larger percentage of students scoring in those top 2 tiers. And you can see that I'm like, wait, that green line wasn't in the right spot. So you can see that kind of reflect in that scale score. You can see that scale score is much closer to that green proficiency line. So, yep. So you can see in English 2, we have a larger percentage on the left chart showing a larger percentage of students in those top 2 tiers, proficient and advanced. And then that reflects the scale score averages on the right being much closer to that percentage line. So as we have more students performing higher, we get a larger percentage, and then we also are raising, excuse me, I'm not breathing. We have a larger average or a higher average scale score, getting closer to that proficiency line. Did I say it right? Okay. All right. And then the last content area for high school is government. And we've had a slight increase here as well throughout the years. And you can see that the scale scores remain pretty consistent and getting closer to that green proficiency line. This same 3-year historical data, I don't want to forget to say this, in the board presentation packet, we have the same 3-year historical for our MAP grade level assessments. We just didn't want to take up too much time here in the presentation, but you have that for 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade as well. All right, so what good is data if we're not going to use it to do anything? So here are some of our action steps that have been taken and are taken throughout the year for that matter. So our principals received this data in July during their professional development opportunity and planning time, and they were able to use this to revise their accountability plan, take it back to their schools, discuss, chart their path, and really guide that instruction. Our academic team, our curriculum specialist, they also received the data in July. And not only do they receive data as the student scores, they receive data on what we call the item benchmark descriptors, which really are the standards, the little pieces that make up the whole English language arts or the math. So they received that. They use that to align the scope and sequence. They may flip the order that they teach something, specifically like statistics. It usually comes at the end of the year, but it makes up a large portion of the test. So they flip that scope and sequence around to make sure we cover it so the students are prepared to take that assessment. They also use it to, I have target, but that always seems like a bad word. It's not a bad word, but they target their support by grade and content. So if we see we're lagging in an area, we want to make sure that we shore that up. The other thing they do is use it to plan our professional development, our professional learning, to really deepen the understanding and the ability of our teachers to teach, especially on those priority standards. Those are the ones that are worth the most points or tested more frequently. We also this year, the assessment department is in conjunction with Dr. Dino, creating a stakeholder collaboration team, tongue twister. And really our goal is to build the data literacy practices across our district and make sure we're not just looking at it as another test, but the numbers really do tell a story and they really guide how we can get to where we need to be. The last thing I want to point out is MSIP 6. MSIP 6 is the DESE Missouri School Improvement Program, DESE being Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, lots of acronyms in education. And that plan focuses on continuous improvement of all of our schools, life beyond high school, and promoting practices that lead to healthy school practice. And all of the data that we're talking about, plus data from other areas of our school district, they all add up into what's called an annual performance report, or commonly known as the APR. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because the APR is what classifies school districts. So you can be accredited, provisionally accredited, or unaccredited. And the last 2 years, we have been accredited. And in 24-25 is the first year under MSIP 6 where schools can be reclassified based on their APR. So we just want everyone to know that we're really focusing on, as we always do, but we're focusing on our academic achievement, our testing, our plans, all of those pieces that make up those MSIP points so that we are just moving our district forward. So just historically speaking, under the APR bullet point at the bottom, in 21-22, SLPS received 115 out of the 180 total possible points, giving us 63.8% of those points. And in 22-23, we received 121.4 out of 192, giving us 63.2% of our points. Now, we have some preliminary data that is not released yet. DESE does not have an official date for the release of the final data from them. We expect it in the next couple of months, and I'm sure that I will be here at the request of Dr. Borshade and or the board to present our numbers. The last thing I wanted to show related to those APR points, I know it might be difficult to see on the screen, but this is just a breakdown for your reference of the points that are earned by academic achievement. We also get academic growth, but we also get points by our plans, our graduation rate, things like that. So I wanted you to have that breakdown for reference. And then I welcome any questions you may have. And then, as I said, in the board packet, there are the 3-year historical for the grade level assessments in ELA and math. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so the question was, do the scale score ranges for the performance levels change every year? Good question. They do not. They do. I don't know what year it was. I could get back to you on that. But every once in a while, when DESE does a realignment, they rescale everything. I know some of the high school were done in the last couple of years. I can't off the top of my head remember when grade level was, but they do not change every year. Yes. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, will you say the last part? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Correct. So what President Cousins was asking is about the green proficiency line, where some of our content areas we are closer and some we have a little ways to go, but we know that we're working in collaboration with curriculum and setting lots of things in sight to help our scholars reach those levels for state accreditation and their livelihood and being a portrait of a graduate. So the question was, do we see that the STAR testing is assisting our students in the performance on the map? We do see a correlation between those students who are projected to score in those top two tiers. We see a correlation of their performance then on the map. They're different style tests. So in conjunction with curriculum, we know as we increase their ability to read and calculate on math, that's the skill part. And then the curriculum comes on board with making sure they're prepared to answer map style questions. So it's a twofold. We are getting that predictive nature. We have practice items in the Renaissance products so they can practice their ELA and their math and Freckle and other platforms to increase where their skill level is. And then, like I said, that map style of questioning is added through the curriculum piece. Yeah. The question is there a correlation between the bottom two tiers? It's a pretty close correlation of, and sort of common sense says the better you read, the better you calculate math, the better you'll perform on state tests. And so we really ask our schools to take that STAR testing seriously so that we get, the better the data, the better the prediction, right? Yes, ma'am. Is it fair to tell you that I could get you that? Is it, there is a blueprint that DESE publishes, and I apologize that I don't know it like right off, but I can, would I forward that to you, Dr. Borshade, and then you would get it to the board so I could give you a breakdown of all of the content areas if you'd like, but specifically the government test. You're welcome. Yes, sir. So the STAR assessment, it gives a score which is called a grade equivalent, and it's kind of a confusing score. I'm going to say that right off the bat. So a grade equivalent that's given in Renaissance is not a criterion score, meaning you haven't mastered all of the standards at the score it says. So maybe you're a third grader and you received a 4.5, fourth grade, fifth month. It doesn't mean you've mastered all the standards of a fourth grade student at the fifth month. It means you're performing at the same level nationally as an average fourth grader in their fifth month. So it's a yes and a no. It also gives you a Lexile, which is a measure that equates to book levels, the complexity of text. So it gives you a level. It's hard to say specifically it's that grade level. They give you that proficiency and where a range is, where you're expected to score at your grade level. Does that make sense? So the STAR test will put you in a projected level based on our state tiers. And then the state, we just adopted that language for that platform. The STAR test gives you lots of different, they'll give you national NCEs, percentile ranks, lots of different data points. Yeah, it won't tell you what grade level you're performing, but it only tests you. So your English test will test you only on third grade standards if you're a third grader. It does provide a Lexile score as well that places you in a range of reading ability. I hope I answered that. Yeah, and there's lots of scores, right? And lots of data, and depending on what you want to look at, there's That's why data can be lovely and horrible at the same time. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Right. So the question is, what does the STAR test look like at a kindergarten level? So there's STAR early literacy and there's STAR reading. So two different platforms, both in the reading realm. And at the kindergarten or the early lit level, the assessment is read to them by the computer. And it'll start with a selection of select the letter C. So they'll have 3 letters and they'll select C. Select the picture of a cow. And then it'll get into like the word level. If they scale up, since it's adaptive, there may be a short sentence where they pick a vocabulary word that goes in. It's all taken on the iPad, so it's all touch, and it is read to them. Predominantly, from my understanding, it's been a while since I've been in the classroom. It's usually done in small group for kindergarten students because logging on 26, 30 students at the same time would not be ideal. But it's usually done in small group, maybe at a center with the teacher, at the half round table, and so that they can guide that login process and make sure they're on track. Anything else? All right, I'm sure if there are other questions, Dr. Bourget could get them to me. Thank you guys for allowing me to present.
And next we will have Ms. Walker, who is going to share with us some technology, some additional resources that we can use in our schools to build the confidence of our learners. The technology team is going to build a team that focuses on integrating technology into the classroom. And we're asking for teachers, administrators, and others to come and work together to help us prepare our students for a digital world. Ms. Walker?
Good evening, President Cousins, Vice President Davis, members of the board, Acting Superintendent Dr. Bourget, and the community. My name is Simona Walker, and I'm the Director of Technology Services. Today, I will be providing an update for technology. Here you see the St. Louis Public Schools strategic values. In the technology department, we focus on highly effective educators and leaders, joyful and engaged students, authentic family and community partnerships, personalized supports and innovative pathways, and making sure that our students are college and career ready and critical thinkers. Here you see our student success goals, our 3rd grade reading, 3rd grade math, college and career readiness, and culture and climate. This slide shows technology integration in the classroom. It's a very powerful slide. It shows our pre-K and kindergarten students at Frable using the iPad, using the technology. You see them matching, you see them writing, you see them doing lots of different things. We are preparing our students to make sure that they are ready for the digital world. So a program that I would like to introduce that we now have in the district and will be working with staff members and teachers to roll out over the next few weeks is called Reading Progress. Reading Progress is an innovative tool integrated into Microsoft Teams that helps students improve their reading skills. So how does it work? Teachers create assignments. They assign reading passages to their students directly through Microsoft Teams. Students then record themselves reading the passage. This allows them to practice reading out loud in a comfortable and familiar environment. Pronunciation practice. Before submitting the assignment, the application identifies the 5 most mispronounced words and prompts the students to recite them again until they are pronounced correctly. This feature helps students improve their pronunciation and fluency. Once the student has mastered the words, they submit their assignment to their teacher. Their teacher then receives a notification and can review the student's recording, providing personalized feedback and support. Teachers then can track each student's progress over time, identifying areas where additional support may be needed and celebrating those improvements. This program not only enhances reading skills, but also builds confidence in students as they see their progress and receive constructive feedback. One day, I hope to share a success story of our students using Reading Progress at a future meeting. Again, on this slide, it just shows ways that teachers can add passages for their students. They can take it from a Word document, a PDF file, from a file that was uploaded in Microsoft Teams, a file from their OneDrive, or even a passage from ReadWorks. So they don't have to go out and recreate something. They can pull something from the internet, slide it into that student's assignment box, and then the student can go and read that passage. All right. Sorry, I lost my spot. Next, I'd like to introduce a new initiative. Did I go past one? I did. There we go. Next, I'd like to introduce a new initiative called the Technology Integration Team. This team will consist of principals, staff members, AICs, and anyone interested in ensuring that our students are prepared for the digital world. The team will meet bi-monthly to discuss new technology features and assist staff members in integrating these technologies into their daily teaching or work routines. Sign-up information has been sent out to principals to share with their staff members. In addition to Reading Progress, and our technology integration team will be providing ongoing professional development for teachers and staff. This will include, but is not limited to, training on Microsoft Teams, Excel, Word, Reading Progress, OneNote, OneDrive, 3D printing, and so much more. We will also be collaborating with Parent University to offer parents training on Microsoft Teams, on Microsoft Word, Excel, internet safety for their scholars, and more. We're also very excited to announce our 3 upcoming technology fairs. Our first one will be held in the fall and will be open to parents and students. This will be a day for families to explore the fun and exciting possibilities with technology. Activities will include learning about Z-Space in our gadget garden, designing and printing with 3D printers, programming and racing robots, coding, taking a virtual field trip to places like Paris and Disney. There will be something for everyone. Our next event will be our spring event, Blossoming with Tech, a spring into the future. In the spring, we will host an event where students can learn the basics of coding and robotics. We will showcase the latest educational technology tools and gadgets and hold a student innovation fair where students can present their tech projects and innovations. And then our last event will be our summer event, our 8th annual Show Me Technology Conference. This conference originally began in 2017 with just 60 teachers and staff members. The last time we held the conference in 23-24, we had over 600 participants. The conference will offer training on 3D printing, iPads, iMovie, coding, using our Dell laptops, Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, using the interactive boards, and so much more. We are looking forward to hosting this event and others to prepare our teachers and students for the start of the next school year. Next thing that we're going to talk about is our account migration. Currently in the district, we use the first letter of the staff member's first name, the first 7 letters of their last name, and the last 4 digits of their social. We are now transitioning to a new login convention, which will be the first letter of their first name, the first letter of their last name, and their personnel number. The technology department has tested this new system and it works effectively. All new employees who have joined the district after August 1st are currently using this new login format. Now we need to migrate the rest of the staff members. At this time, we are seeking volunteers to ensure everything works perfectly before migrating an entire school or department. Our goal is to minimize downtime for staff members. Communication was sent to principals last Friday, and as we receive requests, we will work with each staff member to migrate their account. Communication is crucial in this process. We will communicate with staff members several times before and after the migration to ensure everything is functioning correctly. The account migration will typically begin after 5 p.m., and users will be able to log into their accounts the next morning before starting their day. We will provide a checklist to the user to verify that everything is working as expected. We plan to begin the migration process for the rest of the district staff in mid-October with an expected completion date before winter break. On this slide talks about additional support. If people need additional support in working with anything, Microsoft Teams, PowerPoint, Excel, call the help desk. You can reach us in person. You can do it virtual. You can call us. You can email us. We're always willing to help. And this one just has slides of additional resources that can be used. Thank you. I'm sorry, any questions? Yes, ma'am. So Microsoft Teams is similar to an LMS. It's not an actual LMS, but it's very similar to it, where you can go in and add different, you can have different conversations going. You can add different files where the files are stored. Teachers can assign assignments straight from there. The student can go and get their assignment, submit it to the teacher. The teacher sees it on their laptop or their iPad, and then they're ready to grade it. Correct. Correct. Yes, ma'am. But it has other features like the reading progress that we just talked about. There's also a math progress that you can add. There's some other features in Microsoft Teams that can be added to it as well. We are still looking for a location right now, but as soon as we have that location, we will definitely share it. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am. So the question was, when we're talking about reading progress, is it voluntary or is it more of a district rollout? We're thinking that it's going to be more of a district rollout so that we can improve our reading scores. So everyone can be able to participate. Everyone has access to reading progress. Everyone has access to Microsoft Teams. So inside of the system, it has many different languages, accents, and different things like that as well. So you can select the sensitivity level on it, and it will help you with that as well. You don't necessarily, and the question was, do you have to record yourself? The teacher can set it up to where it does not have to be recorded. But what we found is that a lot of students want to hear themselves reading. So this has helped them to hear themselves reading. But the teacher can definitely set it up to where it does not have to be recorded with the video face to face. Yeah, just hearing yourself. I understand. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm not sure about the parent university question, but we are willing to help all parents. If they just reach out to us, we can set up an afternoon session with them. They can come with their student and bring the iPad or the laptop, and we're willing to work with them. And parent university is at 801. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. And now we are going to hear from Ms. Terrence Sharp. I had an opportunity to attend a few games this weekend, and I'd like to thank Dr. Wallace for inviting me to the Sumner game and principals of Roosevelt and Gateway STEM, Ms. Dancy and Dr. Berry respectively, for the camaraderie they exhibited. Tonight, we will hear from Ms. Sharp, who is our district athletic director. She has done an outstanding job on onboarding staff to serve as athletic directors at their respective schools. And tonight she will be sharing a high-level overview of the athletic department. Ms. Sharp.
Good evening, St. Louis Public Schools Board of Education and Dr. Burchett. Tonight I will be doing a presentation on athletics, the public high league known throughout the city as the PHL. Our SLPS strategic values, we believe in athletics that all of those listed apply to athletics. See that far from here, but our student success goals, third grade reading, third grade math, college and career readiness, culture and climate. And then our portrait of a graduate. All right. In the athletic department, this is our organizational chart. We have our athletic supervisor, Ms. Heather Krager. She does all of our elementary and middle school sports, high school sports, falls under me. And then right now we have an administrative assistant. That position is vacant. Our administrative assistant, Ms. Stewart, retired in June. I think it's going on. All right, training for athletic directors, ADs, and intramural coordinators. So you'll see that used interchangeably. AD stands for athletic director. Intramural coordinators is our ICs, which are at our middle schools. So training for all ADs and ICs take place before the district professional development and then once a month throughout the school year. The training entails inviting different departments such as HR, transportation, food services, our BSN representative, medical representatives such as Abbott, our district director of nurses, athletic trainers, and different partners such as Final Forms and Sports U. We also review Missouri Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association, which is the MIAAA, and then the national organization, National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators, which is the NIAAA. We review those updates. We go over MISHA updates, such as updates to bylaws and sport and activity specific changes. Every year, there could be some changes on what ball we're supposed to use, what the brand of the ball, or different things with uniforms, things like that. We also facilitate LTC courses to ADs and ICs to help them obtain their initial athletic administrator certifications. Current vacancies right now in athletics, we have 2 open athletic director positions for high schools at both Metro and Vashon High School. We have several coaching positions available for winter and spring sports for high schools. And then all positions have been posted on Nimble, and recruiting continues internally and externally for coaching positions. SLPS athletic director requirements. On Nimble, the job is posted as a 10-month position. It's a stipend position, reports to school principal. Summary position is under the direction of the principal, provides educational leadership to effectively oversee all aspects of athletics and activities, organize and administers the overall program of 9 through 12 extracurricular activities, supervise and evaluate all coaches during the athletic season, and ensure all coaches meet district and MISHA requirements. Also, the educational requirements for an athletic director. You must have 2 to 3 years of supervisory experience as a high school athletic director or coach. Bachelor's degree required, master's degree preferred, certified athletic administrator. That goes back to those LTC courses that I spoke of that the NIAAA offers. And then first aid CPR certification or eligibility for certification to receive those. And then Valley, Missouri teaching certification. Adoption and revision of board policy for athletics. The current athletic board policies, the high school athletic director and athletic coach was regulated and approved on June 26, 1990, revised December 8th, 1998, and then revised again June 17, 2011. The policy 1111.1A, extracurricular activities, interscholastic athletics policy was adopted June 26, 1990, and revised December 7, 1999. Recommended revisions. Language and policy to be updated to align with Title IX. Update language used in policies to reflect current language and align with current SLPS high school academic schedules. All right, some of the activities and sports we offer. The elementary school, we offer volleyball, track and field, soccer, flag football, basketball, cheerleading, and chess. At the middle school level, we offer volleyball, and that's girls and boys. I'm sorry, on the elementary side, everything is co-ed. The middle school, we offer girls and boys volleyball, girls and boys soccer, girls and boys flag football. We are adding girls middle school flag football this coming spring. Girls and boys basketball, cheerleading, esports, chess, girls and boys cross country, and girls and boys track and field. At the high school level, girls and boys volleyball, girls and boys soccer, football, girls and boys basketball, cheerleading, esports, chess, girls and boys cross country, girls and boys track and field, girls and boys tennis, girls and boys wrestling, baseball, softball, speech and debate, and music. Schedule and events posted for the public. Each school creates their own schedule and shares their schedule with their school communities via their school website. Home athletic events are posted on hometown ticketing. Schedules and events can also be found on the school social media pages like Twitter or the PHL Twitter page. And then there's a link for you guys to the public colleague homepage through SLPS. The event and security spectator policy and online ticket QR code. So this document is shared with visiting schools that come to play schools in our district. We share this so that their school communities can click on the QR code and purchase tickets prior to the event, and then just gives them an update on what our security policy is in terms of bag sizes allowed, and then our spectator policy. The cost of athletic events. High school athletic event entry fees for volleyball and soccer is $4. Basketball and football is $6. Elementary and middle school athletic entry fees for volleyball, soccer, basketball, and football is $4. Free entry events K through 12, cross country, baseball, softball, and tennis. All athletic events and concessions are cashless entry and purchasing this year. All athletic events are free for children under 5. Inclement weather and heat acclimatization protocols. Each high school has an emergency action plan for athletics. The plan outlines where coaches and student athletes should go to seek shelter for thunder and lightning. Schools and the PHL office have access to a wet bulb globe to measure the different conditions of heat and various weather conditions based on heat, humidity, and wind factor. This gives you an example of what we're looking for when we use the wet bulb globe that determines how many breaks that coaches should give student athletes when they're practicing outdoors, and then if it's too hot for them to practice outdoors, if it's time to come inside. Some positive stories, videos, and images. Elementary and middle schools, there's a weekly update that's shared to building administrators, coaches, ICs, and network superintendents. High schools, PHL uses the PHL Twitter page to repost from high schools in the district or from other high schools that our schools are competing against. We also have huddle cameras in all of our gyms that are used for coaches and student athletes to highlight their teams and showcase their individual talent to post-secondary schools. For outdoor sports, coaches use the iPads, and it goes to their huddle accounts as well. Championships and successes of the 2023-2024 school year. In the fall, collegiate girls volleyball won the Class 2 District 4 championship. Metro boys soccer won the Class 1 District 2 championship. Metro and collegiate had qualifiers for the state cross country meet. Miller Career Academy girls volleyball got second place at the Class 3 District 4 volleyball tournament. In the winter, Vashon boys basketball won the Class 4 state championship. Metro girls basketball won the Class 3 District 4 championship. Miller Career Academy boys won second place in the Class 4 District 5 championship game. And then Vashon girls also got second place in the Class 4 District 5 championship game. In the spring, the following schools had qualifiers for state track and field: Collegiate, Gateway STEM, Metro, Miller, and Vashon. Yeah, I'm not sure. Huh, okay. So these are some of our pictures of our student athletes. That concludes the pictures. Um, does anyone have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
When you ask the questions, can you just have them repeat it? You repeat it so that people online can hear it.
Okay, so her question is about esports and asking for a brief description of what that entails. So esports is online gaming. We use computers, and we also use Nintendo Switches, PlayStations, or Xbox. And inside of our esports rooms, there's TVs. There's about 15 gaming systems that are the computers, and then they hook them up and they compete against other students across the state, and they can play against each other inter-district wide or just whoever. So we use Generation Esports, which is statewide. They also have an opportunity to compete on a national level. We had a couple of students one student at Gateway Middle that actually made it pretty far last year in competition. Yes, ma'am. She asked that we highlight more of our esports competitions in SLPS. Yes, sir. Okay, so he asked about all of the sports and activities that are listed at the elementary, middle, and high school level, if they are offered at every school, and if not, some of the limitations in not offering it. Well, it's up to each school to decide what they would like to participate in. A lot of it comes down to at some point being able to get a coach. It's really difficult right now finding athletic coaches like it is in finding teachers. So it just depends on the school. So a lot of the schools, it just varies, and it also depends on student interest. A lot of times, like in the spring, we'll ask that they survey students and to see what their interests are and if they're interested in participating or not. So he asked about co-ops and the Misha rules where we have co-ops. So currently we have a co-op with McKillian Collegiate for girls and boys tennis. We have a co-op with McKillian Collegiate for boys soccer. Collegiate is the host. McKinley is the host for the girls and boys tennis. Football, we have a co-op with Soldan and Sumner. Soldan is the host school. So when I say host school, meaning that is the school on Misha that's listed as the host. If that so we have co-op with in football with Miller and Vashon. Miller is the host. That co-op has existed for probably like the last 4 years. The last 3 years, Vashon was the host. This year, Miller is the host. So that has been kind of consistent in terms of those two schools co-oping. Roosevelt this year is by themselves. They were co-op with Carnahan, but now that Carnahan is a middle school, the co-op no longer exists. And then Gateway STEM is by themselves. So the rule in the co-op is that you have to use the basketball classification, which means there's only 6 classes in basketball. You have to add those basketball classifications together. If it goes greater than 6, then those 2 schools cannot co-op. So you have to get a little strategic. And the reason why we have so many co-ops is to allow opportunities for our students across the district. When COVID happened, it hurt a lot of things in terms of our athletics and our participation. especially those kids that got jobs. They decided to continue working and not really wanting to participate in athletics and activities. So the co-ops kind of help allow everybody to have, participation. In baseball, we have co-ops with Miller and Vashon, Sodan and Sumner. And we try to look at where the high schools are placed around the city and what makes sense to get there quicker in terms of distance so that they're not so far apart, and try to keep them together geographically, if that makes sense. We also have it for wrestling with Miller and Vashon, Sodan and Sumner. We don't have any, well, I'll take that back. In basketball, we have it with Collegiate and VAP, and also track and field with Collegiate and VAP because they are in the same building. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so she asked about the technology fair coming up and if we would have one in athletics for students interested in coaching or different aspects of athletics in the future. So yes, one opportunity that Misha is offering is that we can basically start training our students now to become officials. Because right now there's a shortage of officials across the nation. And so we can go ahead and offer them through PE a credit in PE as well as the training to be a basketball official, volleyball official, or whatever they would like to do. And their first year as an official in the state of Missouri is free. They don't have to pay that registration fee. And so that's, with the shortage, they could probably make a couple of $1,000s per season just being an official right now. So she asked about swimming. Our last swim instructor, well, not swim instructor, but our last PE teacher that was certified in swim retired about 6 years ago, and that was at Vashon. We do have a pool at Vashon, and that might be our only operable pool. It needs a little work, but right now we do not offer swim. So that's probably something that we could look forward to offering for our students because I know it's beneficial. Any other questions? Okay, so she asked about transportation and athletics and what our coaches are doing. So that's kind of complex right now. So generally in the past, how it worked, every week I would work on a spreadsheet. And so inter-district wide, I would know where everyone is going. So Monday through Friday, I would give them their route number. They would get on the bus that shows up after school, and I would put their route number that would take them closest to their game location in the district. If they go outside the district, then they would have to complete a charter request form for whatever transportation company we're using. So right now, we're working on the logistics. So it is working a little bit. We have had some hiccups along the way with transportation and getting our student athletes to where they need to be. Our students in high schools are able to carpool. And then we have some parents that are assisting with carpooling student athletes to their various game locations. So I haven't checked my phones, but I'm sure today we had volleyball, soccer, and some other things. I'm sure they've been calling. So, yes, ma'am. So music is an activity, and Misha covers all sports and activity. Oh, I'm sorry. She asked, could I explain why music is a sport? So for high schools, we are governed by the Missouri State High School Athletic Activities Association. It covers every activity and sport that any district could offer. So music is something that is under the purview of Misha. Yeah, so which includes speech and debate, Scholar Bowl, bowling, just anything that you can imagine, archery, anything that we would add, it would fall under Misha, and we would have to follow their rules, their bylaws, and their policies, because we are Misha member schools, if that makes sense. She asked if you are a coach, do you also have to be a teacher? So generally, we would like for our teachers to be our coaches. But again, because it's becoming more difficult to find those people, we are hiring people outside of the district to just come in and coach. And that's only at the high school level. Our middle schools, everyone that works with our middle school athletic programs have to be employees. They are not outside hires at all. And then at our elementary, they are all volunteers. She asked that does that as in when I say employee, does that mean they could be a teacher, aide, or anything? Yes, ma'am. They could be anything in that building to be able to coach at the middle school level. So she asked about the budget, if it's set aside evenly for each sport. So basically in the spring, schools send everything that they need. We're on a 3-year cycle in terms of uniforms and different equipment and like additional support that they would need to do their sports. And so in the 3-year cycle for the uniforms, they would get that every 3 years. That's on the calendar. And then other items that they would need, they would put it on a spreadsheet. We have a spreadsheet that gives like the different brands. And so schools choose what brands they want to use in terms of Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, different things like that. And they send that in every spring. So it just varies by school what year they're at in terms of what it is that they need or that they should be receiving for uniforms. All right, so she asked about the traveling policy for our athletic teams. So our traveling policy, we have an updated policy for overnight stay that we started last year. It requires that the coaches and the building athletic director to do a parent presentation. In that parent presentation, they are to have a sign-in sheet for parents, and the parents have to attend that presentation in order for their student athlete to attend. It goes over what's required of them, what's district policy in terms of traveling. It also tells them basically what they should bring and not bring, for that trip. And then we schedule, it just depends by the number of teams. We allow coaches to come up with their, if they stand overnight, their room, who's going to be in which rooms. They have to turn all that in prior to leaving. For transportation further than probably 150 miles or further, we usually try to get a charter bus, and we don't use a yellow bus. So that funding usually comes from the PHL office. Sometimes schools, like for football, they will have to travel distance, and because of the equipment and amount of kids on their team, they would need bigger buses, so they would use a charter bus. So sometimes the schools would pay for it, or they would, we would pay half and half, just so that we can make sure that everybody in the district can get to where they need to for the year. So she asked about teams traveling, if we provide for every team. So for championships, without a doubt, the Public High League office pays for all championships. So anytime any team qualifies for a district championship that's out of the St. Louis area, a state championship, sectional, quarterfinal event, the Public High League office pays for that. That's allotted in our budget. If schools write or do their own schedules, because schools create their own schedules at the high school level. So they have a lead schedule, which is the schedule that we create, and then they create their non-lead schedule. If they are traveling outside of the St. Louis area on their own, the schools will pay for that. So he asked about any support, booster club or alumni support. So the alumni support varies by high schools. Some high schools help more than others. Some of our older traditional high schools provide food for football teams on the day of game day, or they provide shirts or just different items like that. We also, I know Metro has a booster club, and so does Collegiate. So a lot of our schools don't have booster clubs. And then we do have a funder that's called PHL Inc. And they provide items. So they allow each school to basically say anything that they need. They also provide support in terms of our fields. Chief Watson, they met with him to help him with field sprinkler systems and different things like that for athletic facilities. Yes, they are. Yes, he asked whether they're their own 501c3. Yes, they are. PHL Inc. PHL Inc. Inc. Yes.
And now for our final presentation or our final discussion. I want to begin by thanking the Transportation Department, First Student, and our alternative transportation providers for making the adjustments to the new routes provided over the Labor Day weekend. I'd also like to thank our principals and our staff members for staying with our students at the end of the day to ensure that students are picked up by their respective transportation provider. And again, to our ambassadors, safety and security team, our family community specialists, and our before and after school teams for being readily available to support students and families. Next, I'd like to invite us to watch a video of the work that has been done in our transportation department.
Getting your kids to and from school safely and on time is our #1 priority. We know that the first few weeks of school has had its share of transportation challenges, but we're working hard to improve things. We're always looking at the data and listening to feedback from families, teachers, and students.
Okay. Right. It's a great day at SLPS. This is Twanaya. How may I help you?
We heard your concerns about long wait times at the transportation call center. That's why we've added 15 trained phone operators to ensure your calls are answered promptly and we can assist more families. A big thank you to the St. Louis community for stepping up for our kids. 25 Adopt a Stop volunteers come out each day to make sure our students are safe while waiting for their bus.
I am a product of St. Louis Public Schools, and I also was a former employee of the district. I decided to come out to try to assist the St. Louis Public Schools with their transportation and provide a safe environment for our students to board the buses.
Currently, we have 458 students using Metro passes. Our partnership with Metro Transit has been instrumental in getting high school students to school.
The good thing about riding the Metro, I mean, it's comfortable seats. I feel safe on it. I go in every morning, say after the bus driver. And then usually just ride it with my headphones on and just chill, honestly.
We're also closely monitoring the companies we partner with to provide transportation. We're currently using 421 non-bus vehicles to get students to school, and we expect the highest safety standards. If you notice a vendor not meeting district safety expectations, please let us know immediately. You can email slpstrans@slps.org, or you can call us at 314-633-5107, or speak directly to a staff member at your child's school. If you see something, say something. We've also started making our 108 traditional yellow buses more efficient by pairing schools in the same areas, maximizing their capacity. On September 3rd, 2024, nearly 1,000 more students were assigned to yellow bus routes. This has impacted current transportation routes and modes of service for many students. Some students who were previously using alternative transportation will now be riding yellow buses, while others may now have cab service. All families of students who ride both yellow buses and alternative vendors have received their letters confirming their students' routes to and from school.
The students and scholars that go to St. Louis Public Schools, they are our future. It is very important that we come out and make sure they get a good start to the school day. If they go to school feeling that they were afraid or anything like that, it may prevent them from learning as much as they can learn.
Thank you. So with that, while we were able to provide additional routes, we're still learning about transportation. What we're learning is that we are providing routes for students who are projected to enroll and students who are actually enrolled. And so that's some of the learning that we have. We are also going through a minimum of 500 bus stop request changes that have come in that is also impacting our data or our numbers. Once we have an opportunity to look through all of that data, then we will be able to share more of a feedback in terms of how the changes that we are making are impacting the students that we are serving. We meet now weekly with First Student and our alternative transportation providers to share feedback, and we discuss our key performance indicators, which are about arriving to school on time and drop-off times. And with that, that concludes our report this evening. So President Cousins asked about what are we finding in terms of the challenges and students not being picked up. And what we're finding is that they have requested for stop changes, and we have to make sure that we honor those stop changes and get back to our parents in an efficient way. So there are a myriad of things that we are learning and working through. And the question is, what are the things that we're learning? We're learning that there are stop changes that we need to address. We're also learning that we have routes for students who are not enrolled in our schools. We have learned that there are some parents who are saying that they should be getting picked up, but they haven't registered their children in our schools. So we're just learning a lot about transportation each and every day. We have another meeting that's going to take place on tomorrow morning with Transportation Department. So the question is, when the rerouting happened over the Labor Day weekend, what has been the outcome of that? And the outcome of that has been, again, some of our parents have requested for stop changes. Some of our parents have said their students haven't been picked up, but they haven't been registered in our district. And sometimes the times that they are given, so if a parent has received a time that they're supposed to come, or their ride is supposed to come at 6:30, if the ride gets there earlier and the student is not at the designated stop, the student essentially misses the ride. We're just learning a myriad of things that we have to work through in transportation. The question is, are parents comfortable with the cabs that come not door to door, but curb to curb? Yes, parents were happy with the curb to curb, and now that their students are having to ride the bus, some of them have put in for here is where I want my child to be picked up from versus where you're telling me I have to go. So again, we're working through all of that, and we are owning it and working through it. Yes. So the question is, given all that we're learning, will this impact next year? And so one of the things, conversations that we had even as recent as yesterday, is we either win or we learn. When students register for magnet schools, they register for magnet schools 1 year in advance. And transportation is set for them because they are registered. And so one of the things that we are going to glean from that is that we're going to be setting a registration date so that our families can register, and we can provide registration. We can provide transportation for our families that have registered to attend St. Louis Public Schools. Correct. And just ideally, it would be something that we are familiar with every year. So we know that we observe Martin Luther King holiday every January. And so it would be ideal if we say the Tuesday after that, every year, we know in January, registration opens. And so you register and you will indicate whether or not your child needs transportation. And if your child needs transportation, then we would take that information and begin our routing season once the window closes for registration. And given that we see that it works for our magnet schools, I'm sure we can use that same system for our non-magnet schools. If that concludes the questions. All of those reasons have been listed. Safety, it's too far for my child to walk. Instead of my child having to walk 5 blocks, I would like for my child to be picked up on the corner. So all of those things have been named, as well as the student parents don't need it anymore. And, so when we look at our information that we receive from pupil accounting, we see a projected number of students to enroll versus our actual. And so we're getting that information from there. And one of the other things that we're doing is having our we'll call it recruitment department. They're taking all of the information as relates to returned letters, returned mail, and we're going to be looking at what we have in our system, and if we need to reach out to those families to see if they still attend St. Louis Public Schools and remove them. Those are some of the things that we're going to be working on as well. It could be a combination of students who said they were going to, but never showed up. Because so when we have rollover, so at the end of this year, we're going to roll over some students. And if they've never shown up, they were projected, but they never came. Okay. Okay. You're welcome. Say that again. So the question is there a projected number of a specific number of students that were projected? Okay. So the question is, are there families that thought they were enrolled and not getting transportation? Okay. That's hard to say. They would have to reach out to us and say that they didn't get transportation, and then we would look to see, were you scheduled to receive transportation? And if you think you were scheduled to receive transportation and we don't see you in our SIS system, then that will be the where the alignment needs to happen. So the question is, given the fact that our staff and principals are staying late to make sure that our students are getting home safely at the end of the day after their long day, what are we doing for our staff and principals? And I'm going to invite the board to a discussion about what we can do to honor the staff and principals for staying later. I've been saying thank you to all of them because we really appreciate them. This wouldn't be able to happen without their support, but I definitely invite the board to share some ideas on how we can honor our staff and principals. Yeah. Start now. So the comment was making sure that we have a plan for next year. The question was about tracking, and I would be in a better place to give you a response after our meeting tomorrow. Yeah. Any more questions? Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Borshay? Thank you, Dr. Borshay. We're going on to the September consent agenda. Is there any questions for the September consent agenda?
I'd like to pull 9, 10, 24, 10, and 9, 10, 24, 11. And 9, 10, 24, 12.
Is there any other items to be pulled? Seeing none. I need a motion for 09, 10, 24, 01 to 09, 10, 24, 09.
So moved.
Any discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes? Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Fowler?
Abstain.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
09, 10, 24, 10.
I'll move to approve 09, 10, 24, 10.
Second. Any discussions?
My first question is, I think is this a duplicate of 9, 10, 24, 12? And it's just worded differently?
No,
They're different?
they are different.
Could you explain the difference?
2410 is an MOU where we have people coming into the school working with a select group of schools. And then 2412 is where this is a contract renewal request in the amount of 550,000.
So is 9, 10, 24, 10 in kind at no cost to the district, and 9, 10, 24, 12 at a cost to the district?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussions on 09, 10, 24, 10? Seeing none, Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yeah.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Fowler?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
I'll make a motion to approve 9, 10, 24, 11.
Second. Any discussions?
I know we've had this in previous years, and in previous years, the information on board docs and the assessment of this contract was that more metrics were needed, more information was needed. I'm looking at this year and it's still the same question. So this seems to be somewhat duplicative of a lot of the in-kind services that we're receiving from the response for qualifications, proposals that were also on the agenda for approved tonight, have been on previous agendas. However, this one costs at 100, as a probably $125 $100,000 cost. So my question is, I'm just not sure about the return on investment for that cost.
Are there any Yeaman people here who could speak on it? Or from this school?
Is there anyone that can speak on 09/10/24/11, the Big Brothers, Big Sisters, MOU?
So to preface this in response to your comment, we do have services that are in kind. And this one is at a cost. Okay, Dr. Smith and Dr. Dana.
Thank you. So to address this question that you had about the return on investment, we had that same question. So when I came into the department along with Dr. Dino, we did have some data that we pulled internally. Working with Molly Beck in the assessment department, we had them pull all the students that was directly impacted by the mentoring that was happening under this particular contract. We had them look at their attendance and then their reading star data, as well as their math star data, to see if those students compared to their peers that was not receiving that direct support had any indication of the impact that it was having. And some students we saw maybe 0.2 years gained. I think the most for one student was about 0.9 years gained. But overall, compared to their like peers, we didn't see a significant difference, but we didn't see many kids that backtracked either.
0.2 years or 0.2 months?
It's months, so yes.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. And how many students per year does this reach?
It was about 75, but we have the exact numbers and we can also forward you those reports.
There's, for the actual mentoring itself at Gateman, I recall there were 37 students who participated in the actual mentoring itself. And then the other piece, which was much harder for us to quantify, were when they participated in school-wide events, and then all students were able to be present for those things. But we can get you the specific numbers of the actual individual or group mentoring that happened.
Have we spoken to building leadership as far as whether they feel that there is an impact on this culturally in, you know, some sort of way that can't really be quantified with data?
So not the question around data, but the schools that participated did indicate that they would like to continue the partnership.
Help me understand. So you're telling me, and I don't know if this is a Aaron question or your question. Based on what was asked, there are programs similar to this that are being provided to the district and to the schools at no cost.
Yes.
And yet this is a program that's being presented to the district at a cost of $124,366, correct? And part of what I think I heard you say, Dr. Dino, was you're getting 36 students from Yateman that are receiving services. And we don't quite know how many at this school. Correct?
Yeah, so what we do have are the specific numbers of students that participated in the either individual or group mentoring services. And I just happened to recall that at Yateman, it was 37.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Heights? Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Val?
Abstain.
Ms. Jones?
No.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Ms. Cousins?
No.
Motion failed.
I'll make a motion to approve 9/10/24/12.
Second. Any discussion? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Heights? Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Val?
Abstain.
Ms. Jones? Mr. Davis?
No.
Ms. Cousins?
No.
Motion passed.
0910 2413, 0910 2414 to 0910 2425. I'm sorry, 29. Oh, there's something else. 30. My apologies.
I'll move to approve 09-24-13 through 09-24-30.
Any discussion? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Heights? Ms. Weiss? Yes. Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Val?
Abstain. I'm having a little trouble with the new items, so.
Ms. Jones? Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
I'll go ahead. I know, I don't have a report. I would just like to state, as I stated earlier, we as a board, we don't have to always get along, but I feel that there's a certain way we should conduct ourselves and do the community's business. And, when we have to fight within and without, it makes it hard to do a job that nobody's getting paid for. I know we may throw rocks and hide our hands, but unfortunately, when you throw rocks and hide our hands, granted, it don't fall on me, but it does fall on our vice president and our president, which I feel that sometimes is unfair. But I just feel that if we should just try our best to do what's in the best interest of our students, because this job here is not about board member Tracy Hikes. It's about our students and the people that work for the school district. So that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Secretary Jones?
I would like to know, how do I go about changing my vote? I know we moved on.
Which?
Point of order. Yeah, you want to ask for a point of order?
I'm sorry, I thought you wanted to.
Oh, no, I was just.
I didn't know who was.
No, I thought she wanted to change her vote, so we need a point of order from our attorney, right?
Go ahead, Natalie. You're the.
Ms. Jones is
you're the
asking how to go about changing her vote. So does she need to make a motion to re-vote on something or call for a point of order and request the meetings reflect a different vote?
Reconsider. I'll make a motion to reconsider 09-10-24-12 on the consent agenda.
Second. Ms. Bree? No, you have to reconsider the motion. No, you're voting on reconsidering.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Val?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
I'll make a motion to approve 09-24-12.
Second. Any discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Heights? Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Val?
Abstain.
Ms. Jones?
No.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Ms. Cousins?
No.
Motion failed.
Any other reconsiders? Board report.
My student is approaching pre-K age, and I wanted to share that I have had some experience shopping for schools in St. Louis. I have visited private schools, charter schools, and public schools. Some of the tuition rates were very interesting for those private schools, and the conditions were not ideal. There were magnet schools also in consideration, but one of the most beautiful schools that I walked into was a regular neighborhood school north of Del Mar. You can take your guess on which one it may or may not be, but St. Louis Public Schools, we need our neighborhood schools, and we need to take care of them. We need to continue taking care of them. So that's all I really wanted to report on, that we have some really wonderful neighborhood schools.
Is there a board report? Secretary Jones, do you have a board report?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Board Member Hubbard, do you have a board report? Board Member Wise, do you have a board report?
I would like to say something, actually. Thank you. Didn't turn my light on, but I would just like to make an ask that we work towards getting materials as far in advance as we possibly can. I know it's a lot going on in the district. I know there's a lot going on in the district, but as a board member, it would be very helpful to receive information as far in advance as possible so that we can really take into account everything that's going on and make informed decisions after thoroughly reviewing material beforehand. That it goes along with the conversation about minutes and making sure that we are receiving minutes after a meeting and approving them for each meeting moving forward. So I would just like to just wanted to make those points about receiving information so we can do our jobs to the best of our ability and approving minutes in a timely manner. Thank you.
Is there a board report? Is there a board report? Mr. Davis, do you have a board report?
I do. I have two. First of all, I was able to attend Parent University at 801 last week. It was an amazing turnout. And I want to congratulate the entire staff, Ms. Ironsell, the family community specialists that participated. It's always so great to see them. Dr. Dino, Dr. Smith, Dr. Henning presented, Ms. Boyd presented. I'm sure I'm missing somebody because I wasn't able to stay the whole time. The staff that took care of the child watch room, which was so exciting. You could hear it outside and it was like, wow, this place feels like a school. It was really a great time, a huge, broad, swath of parents from all different types of schools. There were several different languages being spoken. Dr. Dino was translating. I learned a new fact about Dr. Dino and her Spanish language abilities. It was a wonderful thing, Dr. Borshade, and I really appreciate the opportunity to attend as a board member and as a parent. I learned a few things as well. My second board report is something a little less fun and a little more serious in terms of legislative action that we are following up on from last year. As you may recall, last year there was a bill introduced in both the House and the Senate regarding the public school retirement system of St. Louis and changing the contribution levels for the district as well as the other participating LEAs. We did go and oppose that legislation last year with the promise that we would go and continue to work with the Public School Retirement System Board to find a compromise position that would first and foremost ensure the stability of the public school retirement system of St. Louis for many, many decades to come, but also something that was not going to impact district operations because it would require too large of a contribution, which that legislation absolutely would have. We did meet with representatives from the board last week. Myself, President Cousins, Dr. Borshade, Ms. Banks, and Steve Carroll, our legislative liaison, our lobbyists who will be working on this legislation. The proposal from the district was based upon an actuarial study which the retirement system did at our request. to find a number of different scenarios to get to different levels of funding. Just to sort of explain very briefly what the situation is, there's sort of a threshold level of percentage of funding at 70%. If you fall below a 70% funding level, and that is based upon the actuarial estimates of the number of retirees and how much they will be paid out. If you fall below that 70%, you come on a watch list. Last year, in 2023, the public school retirement system of St. Louis went on the state's watch list. Now, there's about 10 other pensions that are on there. Some of those are always on there, like the retirement fund for city firefighters, which you may have read about. But this was the first year that the St. Louis teachers' pension was on the watch list and was the reason for the legislation. Now, the reason that it fell on the watch list last year was not necessarily because of contribution levels, it was because of investments, but it has been forecasted that unless the contribution levels do change, that it was going to continue to struggle to remain above that 70% threshold. So the offer from the district is to get that, to increase contributions from the district at a capped amount, and the actuarial projections would put that going up to over 80% in about 10 to 15 years. And most importantly, it would not require any additional contributions from participants. So our all of the employees in St. Louis Public Schools would not be required, based on the district's proposal, to have any additional contributions, which were some of the actuarial projections. So I just wanted to provide that update for the public. We have not come to an agreement, but we certainly are very optimistic that we're going to come to a mutual agreeable solution, and that legislation will be introduced jointly by St. Louis Public Schools, as well as the public school retirement system, and hopefully the other approximately 30% participating LEAs will also agree to this as well, so we can have that fix. And again, that fix would be good for decades to come.
Thank you, Vice President Davis. Do you sit on a retirement?
I am not. We have three, I believe, maybe four appointees from the school board. Four. We have four. I'm not one of them. I'm doing this in my capacity as chair of the legislative committee.
Thank you. Sir, is there any other report? Dr. Borshay, did you? Point of privilege. Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to also thank, we're thrilled to recognize the 21 exceptional educators from Ghana and the Philippines who have recently joined our district through an innovative cultural exchange program. These talented teachers are filling critical vacancies in middle school science, middle school math, and elementary classroom, bringing with them an average of 13 years of teaching experience and a wealth of global perspectives. And I just wanted to say thank you to our HR department, our HR team, and to our building principals, and to our teachers who have come and joined our team.
Thank you, Dr. Borshay. There's nothing else? Any other reports that need to be submitted on time that's not submitted? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to public comments.
Good evening to our St. Louis Public Schools Board, to our acting superintendent, Dr. Borshay, to our citizens. We thank you very much for attending our board meeting. We do have public comment. Commenters, you may take an available seat in the room, and signing up for public comment occurs between 6 and 6:30 p.m. Public comments will occur at the end of each board meeting and can be submitted to the board also in writing. Each commenter will have up to 3 minutes to address the board. If you extend beyond 3 minutes, your mic will be turned off. Each commenter must remain respectful and refrain from speaking derogatorily about anyone. Please do not use names or your mic will be cut off. There will be 30 minutes allotted for all comments. If you're not called to speak, you might submit your information in writing or return to the next scheduled board meeting with a priority number. Only one individual or group should speak to the same point on one topic, and please, as you comment, state your school and organization. First tonight, we'll have William Monroe.
Good evening. The president, vice president of the St. Louis Public School should step down immediately for mismanaging the St. Louis Public Schools. This board continues to fail to be transparent. The public has no idea of what's being voted upon as you mismanage thousands of dollars. And I'm very glad, I'm very happy that Ms. Emily Hubbard had the guts to speak up about this board. I'm very glad. And
Next, we'll have Velma Bailey.
Good evening. Our protocol having already been established, I'd like to thank the board for having this meeting at this location today. It was very comfortable. Did I say the board? Oh. I'll try not to say any names. The board for having it at this location, I feel is very secure and it's convenient and the atmosphere is very warm. And I feel very peaceful here. So thank you for having this meeting at this location. I'd like to also say tonight that I'm proud to share with you that our organization, the St. Louis Torchbearers 2, was presented with the Human Rights Award from the Christian Women United. And this is part of an excerpt from my response at the ceremony. This is a defining moment when the universe aligned perfectly for the St. Louis Torchbearers 2. We proudly accept this award on behalf of our incredible campers, families, prayer partners, volunteers, donors, and partner organizations, and that includes you. Together, we are crafting a world where the fundamental rights of every human being, including children, shines at its highest priority. Far too often, participants in our grassroots program have met with barriers that limit their access to essential resources and learning opportunities. Yet united with like-minded advocates like the school district, we have championed diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we are forging a world where the fundamental rights of every individual are honored as the highest priority. I just want to share that I'm sure we've had in our memory some challenges with our relationship, but for the most part, I want to share with you that I am very thankful for the opportunities that our children have been able to gain as a partner with you. I look forward to even more. I'm glad the question was asked about swimming because we're looking forward to getting 500 children in the swimming program this year, and preferably they'll all come from the school district. I also want to say that one of the challenges that we met, I would like to have addressed. I've written a letter about it and I've asked about it on more than one occasion. I do not think it's fair for security officers to lock themselves in a bathroom with a 4-year-old. And I've tried to find out why and to make sure that doesn't happen again. I also would not like to let any principal come showing me their cell phone with toilets full of crap and saying to me that I should flush toilets. And they got that picture from a custodian that was in the bathroom taking pictures of toilets. Also, there was such wonderful presentations tonight. I really thought I was in dreamland, and I wandered back to the years when I taught for 26 years in this district. But I am so happy about the reading program. And I'll write the rest of my comments. I'll write the rest of my comments, and thank you.
And Pastor Charles Norris.
Good evening, Board. I come to the meetings for one reason, two reasons. One, I came and I was shocked and appalled at the amount of disrespect that occurred at this meeting. So I prayed about it, and the answer was, come and say something positive. Come and encourage the people that are serving that don't get a paycheck to serve, that take time away from their families. So I wanted to come to encourage you all and to say basically thank you. Thank you for all that is not being said in the media. I sit here and watch them pack the cameras up because there's no dirt to come and say. They didn't say anything about the 5,000 additional students that we have this year over last year. They don't say anything about the things we're working through internally and externally. They don't talk about what's changing in terms of the after-school programs, the reading and all of those things. They don't talk about all the students that are going to be doing algebra now as the basis for so much that needs to be done. So I want to thank you for the things that are not getting reported outside of this room, to keep doing the good work. You are making us proud, and there are more that are out there than you realize that are supporting you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes, Ms. Weiss, Ms. Hubbard,
Yes.
Ms. Val,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yeah.